The harvest.
Good afternoon, Africa. This is Imene Naouad with the latest news from across the continent and the world. The chairperson of the African Union Commission, Mahmat Ali Youssef, expresses deep concern over the worsening security situation in Mali. He condemns terrorist blockades, cutting off vital supplies, and aggravating the humanitarian crisis, calling for urgent international action to combat terrorism and support peace in the Sahel. In Madrid, Spain's solidarity movement with the Sahrawi people announces a national march this Saturday to reaffirm the Sahrawi people's unalienable right to self-determination, freedom, and independence. In Morocco, healthcare workers are staging demonstrations across hospitals today, protesting what unions call worsening ambiguity over wage centralization and the future of public service status. The protest coincides with parliamentary debate on the 2026 Health Ministry budget. In Sudan, more than 57,000 displaced people have fled to the northern city of Dabba, escaping violence in Darfur. Local sources report dire humanitarian conditions as civilians continue to flee the ongoing conflict between the army and the RSF since April 2023. In Sudan still, the International Organization for Migration reports that around 2,000 new people have fled Bara and nearby villages in South Kordofan with just 3 days due to growing insecurity. In Cameroon, opposition figure Issa Chiroma Bakari demands the unconditional release of those detained after last month's protest election unrest. In a video message, he accuses authorities of state terrorism and gives a 48 hours ultimatum, warning that citizens may take responsibility if arrests continue. In Cairo, Egyptians at home are casting their votes today in the first phase of parliamentary elections. The two-day process marks an important step in Egypt's political calendar. The National Election Authority confirms that polling takes place with over 5,600 subcommittees across 14 governorates, with 1,281 individual candidates and 2 national lists competing for seats. Guinea is officially entering the election season, with the Supreme Court publishing a provisional list of 9 contenders set to vie for the presidency this December. Among them is the junta leader, General Mamadi Doumbouya, running as the independent candidate, marking a key step in the country's promised return to civilian rule. To understand more on the topic, Widad Alawa explains.
The electoral race is stirring controversy in Guinea after 2 prominent opposition figures, former Prime Minister Lansana Koyate and former Minister Osama Kaba, were disqualified on technical grounds. A move critics say that this undermines the competitiveness of the vote. Experts highlight that presidential elections are crucial to return to civilian rule. Mamadi Doumbouya, whom governed the country since 2021, has decided to run for office, despite previously pledging to hand power back to civilians. Of the approved candidates, 8 are largely unknown, which, according to Guinean journalist Savani Mamado, weakens the opposition's prospects.
To the surprise of many, the opposition's candidates were largely sidelined. The Union of Republican Forces attempt to field a candidate was rejected, and under Monakambe, its nominee, out of 50 applicants, only 9 have been approved. One name to watch is Ablay Oroplade, a former minister under Alpha Condé. Observers suggest he could shake up the race, having resigned in protest against Condé's third term and earning a reputation as a principal figure. His inclusion on the ballot has led many to anticipate unexpected developments.
Guinea now is walking on eggshells while navigating the delicate path toward a hopeful democratic governance.
In Addis Ababa, the African Union Commission is holding the 5th session of Specialized Technical Committee on Migration, Refugees and Internally Displaced Persons from November 10th to 14th. The meeting focuses on updating continental frameworks and policies in line with the AU Agenda 2063. Representing President Abdelmajid Tebboune, the President of the Council of the Nation, Mr. Azzouz Nasri, is taking part in celebrations marking the 50th anniversary of Angola's independence in Luanda on November 11th and 12th. The participation highlights Algeria's support for African liberation and solidarity. The United Nations Climate Conference COP30 opens today in Belém, Brazil, with African leaders calling for a stronger climate financing. Africa is responsible for just 4% of global fossil fuel emissions, yet among the hardest hit by global warming, urges industrialized nations to honor their commitments and uphold the polluters pays principles. To finish this harvest and conclude with the sports, Algeria reinforces its leadership in African sports with the election of Sid Ahmed El Asri, head of the Algerian Federation of Parasports, as North Africa's representative in the African Paralympic Committee. The election held in Accra, Ghana, marks Algeria's renewed influence in developing parasports across the continent. And that sums up today's harvest. Thank you to paying attention to the fullest. Don't go too far and keep enjoying our programs of the day until the main news at 18:45 p.m. Until then, keep enjoying our programs of the day with Ifriqiya FM, the voice of Africa.